What's going on YouTube? So if we know one thing about Kia, it's that they are not content to stay the same, even with a popular product.
And that's certainly the case with this Kia Carnival. It's getting a heavy refresh for 2025, adding hybridization, new styling, and features.
So, does that mean this is the minivan to buy? Well, that's what we're about to find out. All right, so let's get things started here under the hood for our spec dump. So the Carnival is going to be sold in the 2025 model year with two different powertrains. We have a 3.5 liter V6 engine under the hood with 290 horsepower. However, as we mentioned at the intro, there is an upcoming hybrid model that is going to be sold a little later on in the year. So we look forward to sharing with you guys full details about that model coming very soon. But for now, we do have that V6 model. We want to show you all the other updated elements. Continuing on though, we have an 8-speed automatic transmission, front wheel drive, and our combined fuel economy is 21 mpg.
Now, of course, we'll be talking about this powertrain. We'll also be doing things like getting our signature sound level reading to see how quiet this minivan is, as well as discussing potential resale value and reliability, a new thing we're adding to our reviews.
But you can probably already see there's some big changes to the outside and some big changes to the interior, so let's go ahead and get into that. So as soon as you walk up to this 2025 Carnival, you're going to notice some pretty big changes. That's because Kia is really integrating in their latest and greatest design language for this model. So just like we recently covered with the refreshed Sorento, you're going to see a very similar shape to this Tiger Nose grille. It's their latest derivative. Of course, there are going to be some differences between the trims. This is still available in a wide assortment of trims, beginning at LX and going all the way up to SX Prestige. This is the EX, so we have kind of these little subtle chrome accents inside of the grille to give it a little bit of pizzazz. Now your lower fascia is also going to be revised to be a little bit boxier overall, kind of make this look more like a traditional SUV. And the other thing that's going to do that are these headlights. So you'll notice we've got this really defined daytime running light and turn signal indicator, which kind of makes this nice square shape. This is going to be a new design element. It's called Star Map lighting that you've seen on other Kia products. We also do have full LED headlights standard across the board, but if you get the top model, that's going to actually substitute these reflector LEDs for projector LEDs, as well as give you LED fog lamps. Now, as we walk around to the rear, you're going to see, honestly, the same kind of updates as the front end got in terms of our overall aesthetic.
Yeah, so it's quite a bit different looking, and like Drew said, it does look quite cohesive. I like that as well. So as far as those design elements, let's go ahead and break that down. As you can see, we now have a full-length taillight design as compared to before, and let's see if all of the taillight elements are LED. So as you can see, we do have a LED or a incandescent brake light and an incandescent turn signal, and we're also going to have an incandescent reverse light. So none of your elements are LED. However, you can get that if you choose the SX Prestige. Now, speaking of this lower area, you will notice that we don't have exposed exhaust outlets. I also want to point out your tow rating is 3,500 pounds. The hybrid's tow rating has not been released yet, so stay tuned for that information coming soon.
Now, of course, no refresh would be complete without some new wheel options, and indeed we do have them here on the Carnival. Sizes are going to range from 17 to 19-inch alloys, but actually almost every trim does get the 19s. Starting at the EX and above, you're going to have different types of 19-inch alloys. This is a design that might look familiar to you. I think it began on the Telluride and the EV9, kind of this cool boxy shape with the contrast look. Definitely overall gives it, again, a more SUV-like appearance. As we come up here to our mirrors, you're going to have standard blind spot monitoring and standard heating. Plus, since we have the EX, we add in power folding.
Now at the side, we're not going to see a huge change this year, so you're going to continue with that kind of squared off SUV-like design. We do also have roof rails up top and the signature Carnival side piece here finished in silver. As far as overall vehicle length, it's 203 inches long. Now, as far as your safety systems, there have been some revisions for 2025 for the better. all of your safety systems are going to be standard equipment on this new Carnival, including adaptive cruise control now. So that's definitely very nice. But guys, there is a tech-filled updated cabin that we need to dive into. But first, if you're new here, we're brothers and we've been reviewing cars since we were 12
and 16. We may be young, but we love cars.
And we'd love for you to subscribe to be a part of our Car Confections family. Let's learn a lot, have some fun with all the latest cars.
All right, now it's time to go ahead and get into the interior, the most important part of a minivan. But first, let's take a quick look at our key fob here. As you can see, we've got the latest Kia design on board. They are including smart entry as well as remote start standard on every version. And as we walk up to the vehicle, it will go ahead and sense your approach and fold the mirrors outward, but there's not a sensor behind the door handle, so you're going to need to press that black button to unlock the door. All right, now taking a look at the interior, you're gonna see some pretty substantial updates, especially in terms of technology. But before we get into that, I wanna start off with our seat material and color choices. So the only model that's gonna have a cloth seat is the very base LX trim. Everything else will come with either leatherette or real leather. This being the EX means we're going to have leatherette. As you can see, very nice looking design on board. I love the unique perforation design they have, as well as the stitching details and the color contrast finish. Now what you're looking at is a pretty uniquely colored cabin because we actually have a navy blue and light gray finish on board. So I do like that they give you that special option even on the mid-level trim. As far as the adjustments themselves, you are going to have a 12-way power adjusting seat. This is included on all but the base model as well. And then the EX is what gets you memory seats. But let's go ahead and climb inside so that we can get into all those specific individual details. Now closing up the door, let's talk about the rest of the cabin materials. Beginning with our door trim, the EX is going to get us a leatherette covering all through this area. As you can see, the upper part of the door trim as well as this trim piece is going to be in a matching navy blue. And you'll notice that continues all across the upper dash, which is finished in a leatherette, and all through this center section. You've got this new single vent design for 2025. Our console has also changed a little bit as well. No padding down here on the EX trim, but everything does feel nice and solid, and there are a few different material differences if you choose that fully loaded SX Prestige. But let's go ahead and fire it up with our push button start. And now let's go ahead and get into tech improvements right from the start here. So as you can see, we do have this new dual screen arrangement. We've seen this across a lot of the Kia lineup. It is here now on the Carnival, meaning that your gauge cluster specifically is always going to have at least this design. This is your lower option. It's not fully reconfigurable, so just that center section is what changes. If you want a fully reconfigurable gauge cluster, choose the SX trim level. That is also going to get you Kia's blind spot monitoring camera system. And then the SX Prestige will further add a head-up display. Now as we pull back to the nice navy colored leather steering wheel, we do have the latest design. It's manual, tilt, and telescoping. Heating is also available on many of your upper end models. Turning over here to our storage, we'll take a look inside here. As you can see, it is loaded down with donuts. We like to put donuts inside these center consoles because this is Car Confections. Our emblem is donuts, and this shows us the volume of the center console. In this case, we fit 20 donuts inside. That is a very good number for vehicles in general, although I do have to say it's a little smaller than some of the other minivans because this is a more traditional console arrangement. That's kind of a big takeaway with this Carnival, is that we have a more SUV-like design to this. You don't have as many pass-throughs and stuff as you do in something like a Sienna. But rest assured, you'll still have plenty of space for all your parenting essentials like diaper bags, bottles, Xanax, and wipes. Now, let's take a look at the shifter. Updated design on board, but traditional look to it. Come over here to shift manually. Go up to R for reverse. When you do, this is your traditional backup camera. One of the nice things is that you have standard front and rear parking sensors even on the very base trim level. If you want a 360 camera, you can get that with the SX or the SX Prestige trim levels. And then back behind that, you have your electronic parking brake with brake hold. Now right behind that, you'll notice we have a row of buttons. Prominently located right here is going to be your 3-stage heated seat. This is included on all but the very base LX trim level. If you want seat ventilation, that is available, but you'll have to get the SX trim. And speaking of climate functions, let's go ahead and get into that. We have standard 3-zone automatic climate across the entire board with this Carnival. Very simple to adjust, just use these knobs to change the temperature. The interesting thing about this, of course, is the fact that you may have seen it actually changes between your climate controls and also your audio controls. So if I press that button now, I have a volume knob. 3 different sound systems on board with the Carnival, 6, 8, and 12 speakers. We have the 8-speaker sound system, and let's give it a sample right now. You know, this is a really big cabin to fill up, but I think this system does a pretty good job with it. Obviously, though, if you want the best audio experience, definitely choose that 12-speaker Bose sound system, which is going to be on the SX Prestige. All right, now let's get into the other side of this double display setup. This is the important side, the infotainment system. So we have a brand new software on board, the CCNC. And one of the big things that it's going to include that I know everyone's going to be happy about is wireless Android Auto and Apple CarPlay. So Kias have not had that on the big screen options, but now we do have that on board with the Carnival. Now let's go ahead and cycle into Kia's actual infotainment display, show you what that looks like. Again, you do have the newest software. We have built-in navigation on board as well. And then, because this is a minivan, you do have certain minivan exclusive features on board as well, such as this passenger view camera. So, as you can see, we've got Mason's butt crack in view, it looks like. But normally this would be used to monitor your children, make sure they're not fighting or any shenanigans going on in the rear. And that begins here on the EX trim. As we go above here, we've got a manual dimming mirror. An auto dimming one is available on your upper end trim levels. And another feature we don't have on the EX trim level, but is available as well on the SX and above, is a dual panel panoramic sunroof.
But it's a minivan after all, so let's dive into this rear seat area. Now, I do want to point out, power sliding doors are standard for 2025. They also do have the kick ability now as well. So you just kick under the side of the door and it will open and close. So if your hands are full, you can easily do so. Now let's go ahead and dive into the amount of space that you're going to get in this Carnival because that's very important. So we're going to have about 40.5 inches of leg room, 39.5 inches of headroom. That goes without saying, that's a very good amount of space. It's a lot healthier than what you're going to find in a lot of SUV options if you're comparing it to that. And I do want to point out that these seats do slide forward and back a very good distance. As you can see, it actually slides up into the front seat. So if you need to easily reach back and access your kid, you can do so. Now, with the seat slid all the way back, and this seat is adjusted to Drew's driving position, let's go ahead and get the knee measure. We're sitting at a very good 10 inches of additional knee room. I'm 5'9" for reference, Drew's 5'8", and we do have room for my feet to slide up underneath the seat. Not done yet, because these seats recline a very good distance for some excellent naps. You'd be a lucky kid to ride around in one of these. You have a captain's chair armrest on your left side. Now you're probably also noticing that we do have 8 passenger seating since we have bent seats here in the rear. I do want to point out that that is standard equipment on LXS and above. And if you choose the EX or above, you're going to get this multi-function middle seat that will fold down and actually allow you to have a table. So if you need to eat on the way to baseball or soccer practice, you can do so here in the rear. You also have 2 cup holders. Additionally, there's also the VIP lounge seating package, which of course really bougifies the back seats, allows for heating and ventilated rear seats, power adjustment, all those fancy features. That's only available on the SX Prestige. Now, other things. 2 cup holders, 12-volt outlet, Down below that, just a little bit of storage. We do also have 2 USB-C ports integrated into the seat backs themselves. As far as other features, we do have our own climate vents. We also have our own climate controls, although they're exclusively on the right side of the vehicle. So put your favorite kid on the right side. And then we do also have rear window sunshades, which are standard on EX trims and above. And let's check out the third row and see how good that is. In order to get back here, you just use that little lever that allows you to easily tilt and slide the seat out of the way. And sitting back here in the Carnival's third row, we're going to have a very good amount of space. Now keep in mind this seat is adjusted all the way back, and we're sitting at about 35 inches of legroom, about 38 inches of headroom. Really good space figures. It is still less than Honda Odyssey, and the Toyota Sienna, so keep that in mind. But overall, for someone 5'9", this is really, really impressive. As far as additional knee room goes, we have about 3.5 inches of additional knee room. My feet can slide up underneath the seat, and the thigh support is absolutely fantastic. It's worth noting you have 3 seats back here. As far as features are concerned, we have a couple storage spots. We also have a cup holder, a USB-C port, and we're also going to have third row window sunshade, so that's really nice. Vents out of the ceiling. So overall, as far as how this rates on our third row rating scale, I'm going to give this fit for a king. Walking up to the tailgate, we do have a hands-free power one, standard on this EX trim level and above. And let's dive in to see how much cargo space you're going to have in this minivan. We're sitting at 40 cubic feet behind the third row of seats. If we fold those seats down, which we can easily do by just pulling this strap, that's going to give us 87 cubic feet behind the second row. And if we fold that row down, we're looking at 145 cubic feet. So if you're keeping dibs on its rivals, that's actually best in class maximum cargo capacity. So that's really, really impressive. A lot better than something you're going to get in like a Telluride, for instance. Now, of course, there are not any handles for me to fold the second row down, so I'm going to have to go up there and do it manually. Let's go ahead and get our third row folded down. So you just grab this little handle here. That's going to allow this to actually stow completely into the floor itself. Although I will say this process is not the easiest, so keep that in mind. As far as our overall cargo length, that's something that we do in all of our Car Confections reviews. From behind Drew's driving position at 5'8", we're sitting at a very impressive 91 inches of overall cargo length. From behind the second row, 58, or actually more like 59 inches of length. And then behind the third row, about 26 inches is what you can expect. As far as cargo width opening, 46 inches. Once again, very good. And height, 39 inches with those seats folded into the floor. Your spare tire is located up in the second row, so keep that in mind. Overall, a very practical choice, as you would expect out of a minivan. Well guys, here we are behind the wheel of the new 2025 Kia Carnival. Now there's a lot to talk about when it comes to the powertrain section of this review, so we're going to go ahead and get into all those details as well as do our sound level reading. But first we want to go ahead and start with a hard acceleration.
Alright, so that was an acceleration up to about 60 miles an hour with this Carnival. And you could, of course, hear that nice V6 growl as we got up to speed, because as I mentioned at the spec dump, this is the 3.5 liter V6 engine. This is unchanged from last year, so it has 290 horsepower and 262 pound-feet of torque. Those are healthy power figures for this segment of vehicle. And overall, pretty nice acceleration. Also, of course, the big deal is that it is really nice and refined as well.
Yeah, I really love the fact that this keeps the V6 even after the refresh, because I think it is just something so refreshing about getting into a vehicle with a smooth, refined V6. It adds to the overall experience a lot. And, its main competitor, the Toyota Sienna, is not going to have a V6. It's going to have a hybrid 4-cylinder setup. So I think that that's a big benefit that you're getting that as an option. Now, you can also get a 4-cylinder hybrid setup for this refresh model, that's really the big news about it, is that you can get that hybrid system on board. Like Drew mentioned at the very beginning of the video, the hybrid is not quite available yet. We will get more details as that becomes closer to launching. However, we do have the horsepower and torque figures. It's going to be a 1.6 liter turbo 4-cylinder plus electric componentry, 241 horsepower, 270 pound-feet of torque. That model is also going to be paired with a traditional 6-speed automatic transmission. So the horsepower figures are definitely a little bit different than the other Hyundai Kia hybrid systems that we've tested out, but the engine being 1.6 liters and being paired to a 6-speed automatic means that it will most likely have a pretty similar experience to other Hyundai Kia hybrid systems. But of course, we'll be confirming that later on this year when we do drive that hybrid model.
Right, we just recently drove the Sorento hybrid, and it should give you a very similar feel to that, although this is a larger vehicle, so we'll see how it feels once we get it out on the road. Now, one thing I do want to point out about that hybrid is the fact that it's going to be available on every single trim level as an option, except for that base LX. So you're going to have wide availability, just choosing which powertrain fits your needs the best.
Yeah, I will also point out that pricing is out, and the hybrid will cost around $2,000 more than this traditional V6 experience that you're getting on this tester today.
Yeah, just taking off there at a normal, casual pace, it really just feels plenty powerful. No real noise, vibration, harshness, nothing like that whatsoever. I'm definitely a fan of the feel of this V6 engine. Now, we also have a 8-speed automatic transmission. When you choose the V6 engine, that is also very smooth and overall just a very fitting partner with this V6.
Now, it is only going to be routed via the front wheels. So for the refresh, they did not add all-wheel drive, so keep that in mind for this Carnival. Unlike the Sienna, where you can get all-wheel drive, this is a front-wheel drive exclusively vehicle, and that does also mean that we only have one fuel economy rating. It's 18, 26, 21 miles per gallon combined for the V6. Of course, we expect the hybrid to get much better fuel economy than that. However, those official numbers have not been released yet, so you'll have to wait a little bit longer to figure that out. But now that we're just kind of cruising down the road, I do want to take a second to discuss ride quality, because that's a strong suit for any minivan, and I don't want to delay that conversation. This Carnival really rides fantastically, as do all of its competitors as well, and I don't think the 19-inch wheels really impact your ride too much, so don't be concerned about that. When we go over this bridge, you'll see that kind of demonstrated in action, but the vehicle suspension does a great job of soaking up those bumps.
Oh yeah.
I mean, really, minivans are some of the most comfortable vehicles that money can buy outside of a full-blown $100,000 vehicle plus, so very happy with the ride experience. All right, but we're going highway speed, and Drew will go ahead and pick it up to 55 miles per hour, and we will go ahead and get our sound level reading in this refreshed Carnival. Really nice. 54.2 decibels is what we are sitting at as our sound level reading for this refreshed 2025 model. That is a very good sound level reading, but I don't have to sit here and guess, because I can go to carconfections.com/sound level readings, and on our website we posted all of the cars that we review on this channel, which is hundreds and hundreds every single year, and we can compare to all the other minivans that you may be cross-shopping with. And indeed, where does that place it? That actually places it as the #1 quietest minivan in the segment. It barely ekes out the win over the Toyota Sienna that we tested out. That's also a very quiet vehicle, but it comes in even a little quieter than the 24 model that we tested out last year. So I don't know if they added a little bit more sound deadening or what for this 25 model, but very, very quiet cabin.
Now, another thing we like to do in all of our reviews is give you a slam dunk and airball, our favorite and least favorite element about the model. So for today, we're going to say the slam dunk is the value proposition. You're getting ready to see the price of this mid-level EX, but you've probably picked up on the fact that I'm calling it mid-level, and it still has really, in most ways, it's pretty loaded. Let's just put it that way. So you'll be impressed when you see what you get for the money.
Yeah, and minivans have really just skyrocketed in price, especially like Toyota Sienna. You can almost get them for 60 grand fully loaded up now. So you'll see the pricing in a second. And on the airball side of things, our least favorite thing is the fact that this is not offered in all-wheel drive. A lot of people are looking for that, and especially if you're cross-shopping between this and something like a Telluride. The Telluride offers all-wheel drive. This does not. So that's going to be a big factor that people are looking at, and I wish Kia had added that for the refresh. And lastly here, let's talk about warranty. We do have a 5-year, 60,000 mile basic warranty and a 10-year, 100,000 mile powertrain warranty. Let's talk pricing for the Carnival. We start at $36,500 as the base price for this 2025 model. This EX starts at $40,700. This is with the gas engine option. The hybrid will cost around $2,000 more than the gas version, so keep that in mind. As far as this one, we just have the carpeted floor mats, plus $13.95 destination. We're sitting at a very impressive $42,000 as tested, which I think is a fantastic value. Keep in mind, you can get it all the way up to around 55 grand if you fully load it out this year. And if you're looking to buy a Kia Carnival or any new vehicle, we would encourage you to go to carconfections.com/newcarquotes. Now, the reason you do that is because we have a tool on our website that will connect you with local car dealers in your area to get you the best price. It's also going to give you access to invoice pricing information, which is a great tool for dealership negotiation. If you'd like to take advantage of that, a link is provided in our video description, and we also have a pinned comment at the top of this video. All right, now it's time for us to discuss potential resale value and reliability to make sure you are making a smart purchase. First up, we'll talk about potential resale value. Now, as an economics graduate myself, Drew and I took the time to develop what we think is a good estimate for this Kia Carnival's potential resale value. We estimate that after 5 years and 60,000 miles, it'll be worth around 49% of its original MSRP, and after 10 years and 120,000 miles, 21.1%. Now, it's worth noting that represents right at the industry average for the 5-year metric, and it is going to be lower than some of its main rivals, such as Hyundai, Toyota, Honda, and those types of brands.
Now, we've also done the same for reliability by developing the Combined Reliability Index. This takes into account several studies from trustworthy sources and combines them in a way that gives you a more holistic picture. In this regard, Kia is rated above average. It's going to be a few slots above the industry average of overall makes.
Now, if you'd like to learn more about our resale values, as well as our reliability information, as well as our methodology, be sure to go to carconfections.com/resale and carconfections.com/reliability. Buying a car is a very big decision, so you want to make sure you're making a smart purchase, especially if you're cross-shopping between different vehicle brands. And guys, that's going to be it for one of the first in-depth reviews of the refreshed 2025 Kia Carnival. If you enjoyed watching this video or found it helpful in your purchasing decisions, which we hope you did, we'd really appreciate it if you hit that subscribe button down below. By subscribing, not only are you going to get more car reviews like this, you're also going to be a part of our Car Confections family, and we have a lot of fun on this channel that I'm sure you won't want to miss out on. We'll catch you next time as we sample more of the latest automotive delicacies.